For 8 years, I was the Cinderella who gave everything to the Crawford family: my mind, my dignity, and my youth. But in return, I received nothing: no recognition, no gratitude, only silence. Then one night, the fire swallowed my face. My husband walked away with his mistress. My mother-in-law leaned down and whispered, "The Crawford family cannot accept a daughter-in-law like this." They thought I had lost everything. But the truth is, they have no idea what they're about to lose. I still remember that fateful moment. The annual Crawford Foundation Charity Gala at the Plaza Hotel, 200 elite guests from Westchester's upper class. Crystal chandeliers glittered over evening gowns worth small fortunes. Elegant laughter rippled through the ballroom. I stood on stage in a turquoise gown, a custom Valentino design, Daniel's birthday gift to me last year, ready to unveil the Community Kitchen project. It was a project I'd spent 2 years developing. Not just charity, a full social business model, a community kitchen for the homeless combined with a high-end catering service. Every luxury gala hosted by the Crawford Foundation would fund 300 free meals for the unhoused. The Eat One, Give One model both served the community and created enormous tax advantages for Crawford Holdings. I wasn't just the wife standing beside Daniel at fancy dinners. I was the woman behind every success Crawford Holdings had achieved in the past 8 years. When I married into the family, Crawford was a small real estate firm making $8 million a year. Now it was a $120 million corporation. I was also the perfect mother of Lucas and Emma, our 8-year-old twins, top 3 in class. Lucas excelled in piano, Emma in art. Every morning, I woke at 5 to cook them breakfast. Chicken pho, their favorite, drove them to school, worked full-time for Crawford, came home to make dinner, checked homework, read bedtime stories. People thought I had it all. What they didn't know was that I never received a single paycheck from Crawford Holdings. "Because you're family," Daniel always said. "Family doesn't keep score." "Good evening, everyone. I'm Ella Crawford." I lifted the microphone, the stage light blindingly bright in my face. I glanced at the front row. Daniel sat there in a black Armani suit, but his eyes looked strange. Not the loving gaze from 8 years ago, but cold, distant. Beside him sat my mother-in-law, Judith Crawford, 62, a face carved in ice, not a hint of a smile. Suddenly, a shrill metallic screech ripped through the air. The ceiling lights trembled violently. Guests screamed. I looked up. The largest spotlight, at least 50 kilograms, swayed dangerously right above me. "Ella, move!" someone shouted. But it was too late. A second later, the light crashed down at terrifying speed, dragging severed wires with it. Sparks burst like fireworks. Flames erupted, swallowing the left side of my body before I could even react. Heat, pain, pain beyond words. I screamed as fire devoured my skin. The stench of burning flesh, my flesh, filled my nose. Voices shouted. Someone threw a jacket over me, beating out the flames. Too late. My pearl necklace, the wedding gift from my grandmother, the only thing I'd carried from my poor Vietnamese family, was charred black and twisted, yet clung to my neck like a curse. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed, the world awash in white light. The left side of my face was completely bandaged. I couldn't see, couldn't move, only waves of pain crashing over and over. Daniel, the man I had loved for 8 years, the one I thought would grow old with me, stood at the foot of the bed, a stranger's expression on his face. He didn't come closer, didn't hold my hand, didn't ask if I was in pain. He just looked at me like one looks at a monster. "You'll be fine," he said flatly. "The doctors did their best. But things will be different now, Ella." Different how? I wanted to ask. But the painkillers blurred my thoughts. All I could wonder was, why was he looking at me like that? I didn't know it yet. But that was the moment my entire life began to collapse, and the beginning of the sweetest revenge I could never have imagined. To understand how Daniel and Judith could abandon me so cruelly, you need to know who I was and where I came from. 8 years ago, I was Ella Thompson, the youngest daughter of a Vietnamese American family in Queens, New York. My parents immigrated to the U.S. in 1980, right after the war. They had nothing but two working hands and a vague dream of a better life in a free country. They opened a tiny faux shop on Woodside Avenue. Faux Saigon. Just 5 tables, a cramped kitchen, but it was our entire world. My sisters and I grew up in the smell of simmering broth at 5 a.m., my mother's voice calling out to customers in halting English, and my father's tired eyes after 16-hour shifts. "You must study hard," my mother always told me in Vietnamese, "so you won't have to work like your father and me. You must become a real American." I studied well, very well, graduated high school with near-perfect grades, earned a full scholarship to Columbia University, majored in marketing, worked 3 part-time jobs so I wouldn't have to take money from my parents, and completed my MBA at 23. I met Daniel Crawford on a rainy October afternoon. He walked into my parents' faux shop, drenched, his Armani suit soaked through. "I got lost," he laughed, wiping rain from his face. "My GPS died somewhere around here. Maybe it's fate." I was helping my mother at the counter. This man, tall, handsome, clearly from a different world, made my heart race. "What would you like to order?" I asked, my English smooth and accent-free, the result of 23 years of trying to blend in. "What's the best thing on the menu?" Daniel asked, looking straight into my eyes. "Beef pho," I said. "My grandmother's recipe. She taught my mother, who taught me, 4 generations in Saigon." Daniel nodded. He ate one bowl, then another. "This is the best pho I've ever had," he said as he paid. "And you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met." I blushed, speechless. "Can I take you to dinner sometime?" He handed me a card. Daniel Crawford, CEO, Crawford Holdings. That was the beginning of our whirlwind romance. Daniel was charming, generous, and most importantly, he valued my mind. He listened when I talked about business ideas, branding, marketing strategy. "You're brilliant," he said after 3 months of dating. "Crawford Holdings needs someone like you." "No, I need someone like you. Marry me, Ella." My parents cried at the wedding, not from joy, but from worry. "Be careful," my mother whispered in Vietnamese as she adjusted my veil. "They are rich Americans. They will never truly see you as one of them." But I was too in love to listen. I thought I had found my fairy tale ending, the poor Vietnamese girl marrying her prince. Judith Crawford, my new mother-in-law, smiled coldly during the wedding and pulled me aside. "I hope you understand your place, dear Ella. The Crawford family has traditions and standards. I trust you'll work hard to live up to our name." I swallowed hard and nodded, determined to prove myself. And I did. For 8 years, I worked like a machine. I designed the marketing campaign for Crawford Community Living, a real estate project combining housing with shared public spaces. Revenue rose from $8 million to $22 million in 3 years. I negotiated the $35 million merger with Wellington Properties, the largest in Crawford's history. I built the Crawford Foundation from scratch and turned it into a major charity, raising $3 to $5 million a year. At home, I ran our 3,500 square foot Upper East Side penthouse like a CEO. 20 networking dinners a year, each one flawless from menu to guest list. I memorized the names, preferences, and family details of every client and partner Daniel had. I was the social lubricant that closed deals over wine and small talk. And I raised Lucas and Emma. Born when I was 27, perfect blonde hair from Daniel, warm brown eyes from me. I was the one who stayed up all night when they were sick, who checked every homework page, who clapped the loudest at piano recitals and art shows. But most of all, I brought my Vietnamese heritage, the only thing I had left from my poor roots, into the Crawford business model. The community kitchen project was my creation, my soul's work. It combined three parts. 1. Charity kitchen, 3 free meal services a week, feeding 200 unhoused people in the South Bronx. The main dish, pho, my grandmother's recipe passed down through 4 generations. 2. Cooking classes. Twice a month, I taught wealthy Manhattan housewives how to cook Vietnamese food. They paid $500 per 3-hour session. Every dollar funded the free kitchen. 3. Premium catering. All Crawford Foundation galas were catered by Community Kitchen. French-Vietnamese fusion, high-end yet soulful. Guests loved it. The Eat One, Give One model. Every luxury meal we served equaled 3 free meals for the poor. Crawford Foundation saved about $2 million in taxes annually thanks to this project. It was a PR dream. The media adored the story of the kind-hearted Vietnamese wife of billionaire Daniel Crawford. But I never received a salary. "You're my wife," Daniel said whenever I brought it up. "Everything I have is yours. Why would you need separate pay? That's what insecure couples do." Judith told her friends, "Ella is the perfect daughter-in-law. Smart, hardworking, knows her place." But when we were alone, she'd say, "Never forget, Ella. Everything you have, this house, this life, this status, exists because Crawford allows it. You're just a lucky Vietnamese girl who married into our family. Don't let success make you forget your roots." I swallowed those bitter words, worked harder, tried harder, hoping that one day they would truly accept me. Daniel grew distant. He came home late, traveled more. When he was home, he locked himself in his office. "Work stress," he said when I asked. "You wouldn't understand what I'm dealing with." I didn't know then that he already had a different future, with Sophie Martinez, the beautiful 28-year-old executive assistant I myself had hired a year earlier. I didn't know he and Judith were planning to erase me, waiting for the perfect moment, and that the falling spotlight, that fiery accident, was no accident at all. It was their perfect opportunity. 2 months after the accident, I was still confined to my hospital bed at Mount Sinai. The left side of my face was severely disfigured, even after 3 reconstructive surgeries. The doctor spoke softly, almost apologetically. "Mrs. Crawford, we did everything we could, but with 3rd-degree burns over such a large area, you'll need at least 5 to 7 more surgeries, and even then, the scars will remain visible." They handed me a mirror for the first time in week 6. I looked and barely recognized myself. The left half of my face looked melted and hardened again, wrinkled, purple-red, rough like tree bark. My left eye drooped, my mouth pulled to one side. I cried for 3 days straight. Daniel visited exactly 3 times in 2 months. Each visit lasted no more than 15 minutes. He never looked directly at me, his eyes always on the window or his phone. "I'm busy, Ella," he said when I asked why he rarely came. "Your accident caused our company's stock to tank. The media's speculating. I'm doing damage control." Lucas and Emma weren't allowed to visit. "Mother says they're too young to see you like this," Daniel explained. "It could traumatize them." I begged through tears. "But they're my reason to live. I need to see them." "When you're better," he said coldly, and left. Then one Friday afternoon, 2 months after the accident, Sophie Martinez walked into my hospital room. She wore a black suit and held a large brown envelope. "Mrs. Crawford," she said, professional and emotionless. "He asked me to deliver this." She placed the envelope on my bedside table. My hands trembled as I opened it. Divorce papers. Grounds for divorce. Irreconcilable differences due to permanent physical and emotional incompatibility. "What did Daniel say?" My voice rasped, unused and weak. "He said you'd understand. Crawford can't afford a scandal. The media's watching closely. This needs to be handled discreetly." A scandal. I was nearly burned alive, and he called it a scandal. "I won't sign," I whispered. Sophie gave a chilling little smile, far too cold for a 28-year-old. The prenuptial agreement you signed is very clear, Mrs. Crawford. Section 7, Clause 3. In the event that the wife becomes physically or mentally incapacitated and unable to fulfill marital duties, the husband may file for unilateral divorce without her consent. You have 72 hours to prepare. I remembered signing that prenup. Daniel had said, "It's just a formality. My mother insists. Don't worry. We'll never need it." I believed him. I signed without reading. Sophie turned at the door. "Oh, and Mrs. Crawford, the community kitchen project you developed? According to the internal employment contract you signed, all business models, intellectual property, and concepts created during your tenure belong to Crawford Holdings. You have no right to use or reproduce that model or any related recipes." Recipes? Those were my grandmother's recipes, my mother's gift to me when I was 12. Our family's heritage, not Crawford's property. But because I'd used them for the community kitchen, a Crawford Foundation project, they now claimed ownership. My hands shook as I read the papers, and then I saw something that made my blood run cold. The notary stamp read August 15th. The accident happened on August 30th. They had prepared the divorce papers 2 weeks before the fire. The accident wasn't random. It was the perfect cover to get rid of me, without public backlash. I grabbed my phone, the old iPhone they'd left me, and called Grace Miller. Grace had been my best friend since Columbia. Now she was a dermatologist at Mount Sinai. She visited me every day since the fire, the only one who did. "Grace," I whispered, my throat raw. "I need you, not just for treatment. I need the truth. I need help." She arrived within 20 minutes. When she read the divorce papers, her face went pale. "Those bastards," she muttered. "Ella, you need a lawyer, right now." "I can't afford one, Grace. All my accounts are joint with Daniel. I don't even have my own." Grace squeezed my hand. "We'll figure something out. You gave everything to Crawford. You deserve—" But before we could plan anything, things escalated fast. 3 days later, while I was still in the hospital, I got an email from the bank. The joint account with Daniel had been closed. A new account opened under his name only. My balance, $0. I called the penthouse. A woman answered, not Maria, the housekeeper I'd employed for 3 years. "Who is this?" I asked. "This is the Crawford residence. Who's speaking?" "I'm Ella Crawford. This is my house." "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't have any record of someone by that name. I'm the new house manager. Mr. Crawford changed the locks last week." They had thrown me out. Changed the locks. Erased me. I sobbed, turning to Grace. "Where are Lucas and Emma? Where are my children?" Grace made calls. When she returned, her face was stricken. "Judith filed for temporary guardianship. She claimed you're mentally and physically unfit to care for minors due to severe trauma." They even got a psychiatrist's note. But I never saw a psychiatrist. They didn't need to, just someone willing to sign. And with Crawford's money? In 1 week, I lost everything. Husband, children, home, money, identity. When I was finally discharged, I had 1 suitcase. Clothes Grace had bought for me at Goodwill, since Judith had thrown away your belongings while cleaning. And $247 in cash. Grace's personal loan from her paycheck. She begged me to stay with her, but I shook my head. "You've done enough. I can't be your burden." "Ella, you're not a burden. You're my friend." "I need to stand on my own, Grace. I need to find myself again." With $247, I searched for the cheapest room possible. I ended up in a rundown building in South Bronx, one of New York's roughest neighborhoods. Rent, $400 a month. Room, 8 square meters. Shared bathroom down the hall. Filthy, half broken. No private kitchen, just one greasy communal stove for the whole floor. Moldy walls, peeling wallpaper, a rusty metal bed with a thin mattress and no sheet. A cracked window overlooking a dark alley filled with shouting, arguments, sometimes gunshots. A true slum. And this was my new home. By May, Carlos's video had gone viral everywhere, even reaching the New York Times food section. Faux Ella, from tragedy to triumph through a bowl of soup. The article told my story, not every dark detail about the Crawfords, because I wanted to avoid drama, but enough that readers knew. I was the woman burned in a tragic fire, who lost everything and rebuilt her life through a bowl of pho. Daniel read that article and he was furious. He called his lawyer. Ella is using recipes and a business model from Community Kitchen, property of Crawford Holdings. I want to sue her for intellectual property theft. The lawyer hesitated. Mr. Crawford, technically she could argue that these are family recipes, not company inventions. And given the public sentiment right now, I don't care about public sentiment. I want her shut down. But Judith, ever the tactician, intervened. Daniel, if you sue Ella now, the media will crucify you. Billionaire bully's burned wife who's feeding the homeless. That's a PR disaster. We need a different approach. Daniel leaned forward. Then what do you suggest, Mother? Destroy her reputation. Make people believe that her charity restaurant is filthy and deceitful. When the public turns against her, the business will crumble on its own. Daniel nodded slowly. Then we need someone on the inside. Judith's smile was cold. I know just the person. Sophie Martinez, now 3 months pregnant with Daniel's child, was summoned to the Crawford penthouse, the home where I once lived. Naive and in love, Sophie believed Daniel truly cared for her. He had promised, once the divorce is finalized, I'll marry you. But it had been 5 months since my divorce, and Daniel still hadn't made their relationship public. Sophie, there's one last thing I need you to do for me, Daniel said, sitting on the leather sofa I had once chosen. After that, we'll announce our relationship and get married. Sophie sat beside him, holding his hand. What is it? My ex-wife, Ella, is running an illegal business, he said coolly. She's using Crawford's recipes and models without authorization. I need you to apply for a job there. As a waitress, observe everything. Record any health violations. Secretly film her. Then send me the evidence. Sophie hesitated. But I've heard she's kind, that she feeds homeless people for free. Daniel chuckled. That's her marketing gimmick. In reality, she uses expired ingredients and leftovers to cut costs. It's dangerous. You'll be helping the community by exposing her. Sophie, young and hopelessly in love, nodded slowly. I just have to observe and record, right? I don't have to do anything bad? Exactly, Daniel said, placing a hand on her belly. Just record the truth. After that, he smiled. We'll be a family. You, me, and our baby. Hope sparkled in her eyes. I'll do it, Daniel. A week later, Sophie showed up at Faux Ella. She stepped into the small restaurant, 40 square meters, 10 tables, white walls decorated with black and white photos of Vietnam. Simple, spotless, filled with the warm aroma of broth and herbs. I was behind the counter, wearing a plain white t-shirt and black apron. The left side of my face still bore visible scars, red and textured, though healing. Hello, I greeted her with a smile. What would you like to eat? Sophie met my eyes, deep brown, tired yet gentle, and felt a pang of unease. This wasn't the manipulative woman Daniel had described. Actually, I'm here to apply for a job, she said. I blinked. A job? Yes, I can wait tables, wash dishes, whatever you need. I work hard. I studied her. A young, pretty woman, nervous and slightly rounded in the belly, pregnant, about 3 months along. Any experience in restaurants? Not much, but I can learn. I thought for a moment. Rosa and I were overwhelmed during rush hours. We did need help. Okay, $12 an hour. It's not much. I'll take it, she said too quickly, then corrected herself softly. Thank you, ma'am. What's your name? Sophie. Sophie Martinez. All right, Sophie, I'm Ella. Can you start tomorrow? And that was how Sophie began working at Faux Ella. In her first week, Sophie scrutinized everything, searching for faults. Was the kitchen dirty? It wasn't. I scrubbed it nightly until 2 a.m. Were the ingredients fresh? Always. I bought them each morning from Hunts Point Market. Any food safety violations? None. Gloves, hairnets, correct storage temperatures. Any reuse of leftovers? Never. Leftovers were donated, not resold. Sophie found nothing wrong, nothing at all. Worse, from Daniel's perspective, she began to see the truth. In week 2, one afternoon, Sophie watched me serve a homeless man, the same toothless old man who'd eaten my first bowl of free pho months earlier. Miss Ella, he said, trembling. Could I have a bowl? Haven't eaten since yesterday. I immediately stopped chopping herbs, prepared him a special rare beef pho, extra meat, extra broth, and carried it to his table. Eat slowly, it's hot, I said softly. And come back tomorrow, okay? Don't stay hungry anymore. There'll always be a bowl for you. The old man's hands shook as he lifted his chopsticks. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Thank you, Miss Ella. This is my first warm meal in 3 days. You're an angel. I took his hand. No, sir, we're all human. Everyone deserves to eat. Sophie watched from behind the counter, her throat tightening. There were no cameras, no audience, no publicity. Just kindness, real, quiet kindness. Another evening, while cleaning up, Sophie saw a familiar young woman walk in, holding a baby. It was the pregnant girl from months ago, the first person I'd ever fed in that slum hallway. Miss Ella, the girl beamed. I had the baby, a boy. I named him Elliot after you, so he'll always remember the woman who saved his mother when she was starving. She placed the baby in my arms. I held him and burst into tears. You named your son after me. I don't deserve that. Yes, you do, the girl said, hugging me. That night, when you fed me, you didn't just give me food. You gave me a reason to believe good people still exist. Because of you, I decided to keep my baby, to fight. Now I have a job at the laundromat, a place to stay. It all started with that bowl of pho. And I hugged her, and baby Elliot, crying uncontrollably. Were Lucas and Emma somewhere out there, being loved like this? Sophie stood frozen, tears in her eyes. Daniel had said, she's a fraud who sells spoiled food. But standing here, Sophie saw the truth. A scarred woman working 18 hours a day, feeding others, giving them dignity. By week 3, Daniel's messages came daily. Where's the footage? Why are you taking so long? I need evidence, Sophie. Sophie sat in her rented room. Daniel never let her live at the penthouse, staring at the texts, heart pounding. She typed back, I haven't found anything, Daniel. The restaurant's clean, she's careful. Daniel called immediately, voice sharp with anger. Impossible. A hole in the wall in the Bronx. There must be violations. Look harder. But truly, there aren't any. Ella keeps everything spotless. She checks every ingredient. Then make evidence, he shouted. Sophie froze. Make evidence? Buy expired meat from the market, slip it into her kitchen when she's not looking, film it, easy. That's fraud, Daniel. I can't. Do you want us to get married or not? He snapped. Do you want your child to have a father? Then do as I say. Don't be naive. This is business. Ella's using Crawford property. We're just taking back what's ours. Daniel, please. You're not paid to think. You're paid to obey. And if you don't, you know your uncle Vincent Martinez already has trouble with customs, right? One call from me, and he'll be investigated for smuggling. He hung up. Sophie sat trembling in the dark. Her unborn baby kicked, the first time she'd felt it. She remembered Ella's kindness. The free soup, the gentle concern, the way she'd made everyone feel human again. Could she betray that? No, she whispered. I won't. She never replied to Daniel again. She simply kept working, serving tables, washing dishes, and trying to forget the mission he'd given her. But Daniel wasn't one to be ignored. In week 4, Daniel planted another spy, a customer named Marcus, actually a private investigator. Marcus observed everything, soon realizing Sophie hadn't sabotaged anything. Worse, she was defending me. When one impatient customer complained, "Why is my pho taking so long? I've been waiting 15 minutes." Sophie calmly explained, "Because Miss Ella cooks every bowl fresh. No reheated broth. It's higher quality, just takes a bit longer." Marcus reported back, "Sophie's gone soft. She's protecting Ella. She's switched sides." Daniel's fury exploded. He called Sophie at 11 p.m., ordering her to come to the penthouse immediately. Sophie arrived at the penthouse, the place she had once dreamed of living in, exhausted after a long shift, 5 months pregnant and trembling. Daniel stood at the door. He didn't invite her in. He stayed in the foyer, eyes blazing. "You dare defy me?" he roared the moment she stepped inside. Sophie flinched. "Daniel, I didn't defy you." "Then why didn't you do what I told you? I asked for evidence. You gave me nothing. I told you to make it and you refused. Who do you think you are?" I just... I couldn't do it, Daniel. Ella, she hasn't done anything wrong. She's kind. She feeds the homeless every day. I can't hurt an innocent woman." Daniel strode closer, his face red with rage. "Who do you think you are, Sophie? You think you have a choice? You're just the girl I slept with a few times. When I tell you to do something, you do it." Sophie's face went pale, as if slapped. "But you said you loved me. You said we'd get married." Daniel gave a chilling laugh. "Love? Marriage? You really think I'd marry a broke little assistant who can't even finish one simple task?" Tears welled up. "But your child, our child, is in my belly." She placed a hand over her stomach, trembling. "That?" Daniel pointed at her abdomen with disgust. "I never wanted it. You think I want a child with you? I already have Lucas and Emma. Perfect kids with perfect genes from Ella. Your baby? It's a mistake." The world tilted around Sophie. But, but you promised." Daniel reached into his jacket, pulled out a stack of papers, and threw them onto the table. "Here, remember that part-time assistant contract you signed last month? Did you even read it?" Her hands shook as she picked it up and read, then froze. "The employee hereby waives any and all maternity-related rights, including but not limited to claims for child support, custody, or paternal recognition." You tricked me," she whispered. "No," Daniel corrected coldly. "You were stupid. You signed without reading, which means legally I owe you nothing. That child isn't mine, not in the eyes of the law, Key. But DNA proves nothing if you've already waived your rights. And if you try to sue, I'll have a team of lawyers claim you slept with multiple men. You can't afford to fight me, Sophie." Sophie staggered, nearly collapsing. Why are you doing this to me?" "Because you were useful. I needed an assistant. Then I needed a spy. Now you're useless." He opened the door. "Get out. Don't come back. And if you ever tell anyone about us, your uncle, Vincent Martinez, will have a visit from the FBI about those smuggling issues at the Newark port. Understand?" She stumbled out, sobbing. Outside, an old car idled by the curb. Her uncle Vincent Martinez stepped out. "Where are you coming from, Sophie?" "It's late." She broke down. "Uncle, he used me, and now he's thrown me away." Vincent looked up toward the penthouse where Daniel stood in the window holding a glass of wine. Then he looked back at his niece, crying, pregnant, heartbroken. "I warned you," he said softly. "I told you not to get involved with Daniel Crawford." "I know. I was stupid. I thought he loved me." Vincent sighed, pulled her into his arms. "He threatened you about my situation at the docks, didn't he?" She nodded, sobbing. "I can handle myself, Sophie. Whatever I did, I'll face it. But you're carrying a child. You need to decide what you'll do now." I don't know, Uncle. I'm so tired. He led her into the car, drove her home, a small apartment in Queens, helped her lie down, and then sat beside her. The woman Daniel sent you to hurt, Ella. People say she's good. You did the right thing by not harming her. Now do the next right thing. Warn her. Daniel won't stop. He'll find another way. Sophie looked up, eyes red. If I tell Ella, it means admitting what I was supposed to do. Yes, Vincent said. And that's what honest people do. Admit the wrong, apologize, help fix it. That's how you live with yourself. Sophie didn't sleep that night. She lay awake, hand over her belly, thinking about the baby she had already decided to name Ella, after the woman she had once been sent to betray. The next morning, before the restaurant opened at 11 a.m., Sophie came to see me. I was in the kitchen preparing ingredients. Miss Ella, Sophie said, her voice trembling. I need to tell you something. I turned to her, her eyes swollen, her face pale. You look terrible, Sophie. Take the day off. No, I need to tell you this now. We sat down in the empty restaurant. Sophie clenched her hands together, gathering her courage. Miss Ella, Daniel Crawford, your ex-husband, sent me here. I froze. What? She broke down, crying, and told me everything. The affair, the pregnancy, his promises, her assignment to spy on me, her refusal to plant evidence, and his brutal rejection the night before. I was going to do it, Miss Ella, she sobbed. I was going to look for something to destroy you. But then I saw how kind you were, how you treated everyone here. And I couldn't. I told Daniel I found nothing, and he told me to make something up, to buy expired food, sneak it into your kitchen, record it, and fake a scandal. I refused, and he threw me away. She handed me her phone. These are all the texts and emails between me and Daniel, proof that he hired me to spy on you. You need to know. He won't stop. I heard him talking to Judith. If they don't get a video from me, they'll hire someone else, create another scandal. They're determined to destroy you. I scrolled through the messages, my blood running cold. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Sophie met my eyes, tears streaking her cheeks. Because I'm pregnant with Daniel's child, and he told me last night that I'm no longer useful. He used me just like he used you. You and I. We were both tools to him, and if I don't speak up now, I'll be complicit in everything he's done. She stood up. She stood. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want to make things right. I'll testify. On TV, in court, anywhere. I'll expose Daniel. I'm 4 months pregnant, and when my baby's born, I want her to have a mother who is brave, not a coward who stayed silent. I was silent for a long time. I looked at her, this young woman, broken, pregnant, and abandoned. Grace, who had come in early to help me prep that morning, stepped out from the kitchen. She had overheard everything. Ella, she said quietly, Sophie, are you truly willing to testify? To go public? Sophie nodded firmly through her tears. Yes, my child deserves a mother who tells the truth. I walked over, placed my hand on her shoulder. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said honestly, but I know you're doing the right thing, and I'll help you. Together, we'll take Daniel down. For the first time in months, I felt something powerful, not just survival, but hope. Real, burning hope. After Sophie turned against him, Daniel decided he could no longer trust anyone. He would destroy Faux Ella himself. He hired 3 fake customers. Each paid $2,000 to claim they got food poisoning after eating at my restaurant. A troll farm with 500 fake accounts to attack me online. A legal team to prepare a civil lawsuit for endangering public health. The attack began in the first week of June. The first victim, a man named Michael Ross, with a Facebook profile created 3 months earlier, came to eat pho at my restaurant. He ordered rare beef pho, ate the entire bowl, paid, and left without a word. That evening, at 8 p.m., he posted, I just got severe food poisoning. Ate at Faux Ella in South Bronx at noon. Started vomiting and having diarrhea this afternoon. Hospitalized at Bronx, Lebanon. Doctor says food poisoning. This place is dangerous. Hashtag Faux Ella toxic. Hashtag food poisoning. Hashtag South Bronx. He attached a photo of a hospital bill, completely fake, photoshopped. Within 12 hours, 2 more victims posted similar complaints. The hashtag #FauxEllaToxic started trending locally. Then the troll farm went to work, spamming every review site with 1-star ratings, commenting on every post about my restaurant. Don't eat here, you'll get sick. Creating fake news articles with sensational headlines. Hidden danger, Bronx soup kitchen poisoning dozens. In 2 days, my revenue dropped by 30%. Regulars still came, but new customers were scared. I sat in the empty restaurant reading hateful comments, feeling that same suffocating despair returning. It was happening again. Daniel was destroying me all over, but this time, I wasn't alone. Carlos Martinez, the food blogger who'd made Faux Ella go viral, called me immediately. Ella, something's off. I'll investigate. So, he spent 2 days digging and uncovered everything. All 3 victims had Facebook profiles less than 6 months old, with no real friends or history. Their hospital bills used the same medical record number, which was impossible. All 3 checked in at Faux Ella on the same day, at exactly 12:15 p.m. One of their profile photos, Michael Ross, turned out to be a stock image from a free photo website. Carlos posted a TikTok expose. Breaking. Someone is trying to sabotage Faux Ella with fake food poisoning reviews. Here's proof all 3 victims are paid actors. Full thread in bio. Hashtag Faux Ella, hashtag fake reviews, hashtag justice for Ella. The video exploded. 5 million views in 3 days. Comments flooded in. Someone's targeting her. You can't fake compassion. I've eaten there, it's amazing. We stand with Ella. But the most powerful response came from the South Bronx community, the very people I had once fed for free. That afternoon, 200 people gathered in front of the restaurant. Each held a handmade sign. I ate Faux Ella 100 plus times. Still alive. Real food, real community, real love. Hashtag we stand with Ella. Don't believe the lies. The old toothless man, my first ever free customer, stood at the entrance, holding a borrowed microphone. My name is George. I'm 73. I've lived on the streets for 5 years. Miss Ella, the woman who owns this place, has fed me every day for 6 months. For free. No judgment. Just kindness. If her food was poisonous, I'd be dead by now. But I'm alive, stronger than I've been in years. Because for the first time in my life, someone made sure I ate every day. Whoever's trying to destroy her is lying, and we, the poor, the forgotten, we won't let it happen. Applause erupted. The young woman with baby Elliot, now 5 months old, spoke next to a local news camera. Miss Ella saved me when I was 16 and pregnant. She fed me, not just once, but every day until I found a job. She taught me how to cook, helped me write my resume. Now I have work, a home, and my son is healthy. If anyone says she hurts people, they're lying. Hundreds of others posted real video testimonials online. The hashtag Faux Ella is real overtook hashtag Faux Ella toxic within a day. But the final blow came from the New York City Department of Health. Because of the official complaints, they were required to investigate. 2 inspectors, 1 male, 1 female, arrived Thursday morning. I greeted them nervously. Please, come in. Check anything you want. They spent 3 hours examining every corner. Kitchen, spotless, no grease buildup, clean floors and walls. Refrigerator, correct temperature, 38 degrees. Labeled ingredients, Nothing expired. Cooking procedures. A detailed checklist posted on the wall. Temperatures, storage times, cross-contamination prevention. Staff, gloves, hairnets, clean aprons, certified in food safety. Waste disposal, covered bins emptied daily. Pest control, monthly service contract on record. The female inspector, a Hispanic woman in her 50s, nodded slowly. "Mrs. Thompson," she said. I'd legally reverted to my maiden name. "Your kitchen is cleaner than half the restaurants I inspect in Manhattan. You pass with an A, the highest grade. Those complaints," she shook her head, "clearly fabricated. We'll be investigating whoever filed them." I nearly collapsed from relief. The male inspector added, "And just so you know, we checked with Bronx Lebanon Hospital. They confirmed there were no patients named Michael Ross, Jennifer Liu, or Carlos Mendez admitted that day for food poisoning. Those bills were fake." They posted the official A-grade certificate on my front door. The crowd outside erupted in cheers. Carlos live-streamed everything. Over 100,000 viewers watching live. But the real shock came a week later. The NYPD arrested one of the fake victims, whose real name was Kevin Murphy, a known fraudster. During interrogation, he confessed, "I was hired through Craigslist. A guy calling himself John Smith paid me $2,000 cash to post a fake complaint about a faux restaurant in the Bronx. He sent me the script, the fake bill. I never met him in person." Police tech traced the emails from John Smith. They led back to the Crawford Holdings office building. Daniel began to panic. He called his lawyer. "How the hell did they trace it to me? I used a VPN." "Apparently, your IT assistant didn't configure the VPN correctly," the lawyer said grimly. Daniel exploded and fired the IT staff. But the damage was done. The media pounced. Who is John Smith? Why target faux Ella? Is there a connection to Daniel Crawford, Ella's ex-husband? A week after the fake scandal collapsed, Carlos introduced me to Vanessa Chen. Vanessa was an investigative reporter for NBC News. 35, sharp-eyed, decisive, fearless. She'd won a Polk Prize for her exposé on corruption in the real estate industry. We met at a small cafe near my restaurant. "Ella," Vanessa began, opening her laptop, "your story isn't just about a faux restaurant. It's about abuse of power, domestic violence, corporate corruption, and a woman crushed by the system. If you allow me, I want to dig deeper. I want to expose everything." I looked at her. "If you do this, you'll be going up against Crawford Holdings. They have money, lawyers, connections. They'll try to destroy you." Vanessa smiled faintly. "They can try, but I have the truth. And I have you, a woman the public already loves. Are you ready?" I thought of Lucas and Emma, of Sophie, pregnant and abandoned, of the thousands of women who'd been used and discarded by men like Daniel. "I'm ready. See?" I handed Vanessa everything I had. The prenuptial agreement with the physical defect clause. The internal contract proving I'd worked 8 years unpaid and that all intellectual property was claimed by Crawford. The emails and messages Sophie had given me, Daniel instructing her to sabotage me. The fake food poisoning evidence traced back to his office. Photos of me before and after the fire. Sophie agreed to go on camera, despite knowing it could destroy her reputation. "I did wrong," she said in the first interview. "But I won't run. I want to stand up, tell the truth, so my child can know her mother was brave enough to make things right." Grace provided medical records documenting my burns, surgeries, and trauma. Then came the biggest breakthrough, Rosa Gonzalez, the former Crawford housekeeper. Rosa reached out via Facebook. "Mrs. Ella, I have something you need." We met at her small apartment in Queens. Rosa was 60, Salvadoran, and had worked for the Crawfords for 20 years before Judith fired her last year without reason. "I never liked Mrs. Judith," Rosa said bitterly. "Mean woman, racist, treated me like trash. But you, Ella, you were kind, Always said thank you, asked about my son. When he got sick, you gave me paid leave. Judith would never have done that. She opened a USB drive. I accidentally recorded something. What is it? I asked. I recorded a conversation between Judith and the electrician, Mr. Stevens, 2 weeks before your accident. My phone must have turned the recorder on while I was cleaning her office. I didn't realize until later. Rosa pressed play. Judith's voice, cold and calculating. Mr. Stevens, I need you to arrange something. At the gala on August 30th, when Ella is on stage, I want an accident to happen. Mr. Stevens hesitated. An accident? What kind, Mrs. Crawford? The lighting system. Electrical malfunction. Make it look like a short circuit, but make sure the spotlight falls right on her. The more severe the burns, the better. Mrs. Crawford, are you asking me to? I'm asking you to do your job and earn $50,000 in cash. No one will know. You handle the wiring, I'll handle the rest. Daniel needs a legitimate reason to divorce her without public backlash. My wife suffered disfigurement, and we can't continue our marriage. Sounds more sympathetic than I left her for my mistress. But what if she dies? Then even better. Insurance payout. But preferably, she lives, just can't show her face in public again. The recording ended. I sat there trembling. They had planned to kill me. It wasn't an accident. It was attempted murder. Rosa, I whispered, why didn't you go to the police? Rosa began to cry. I was scared. I'm undocumented. If I went to the police, Judith could have me deported. But after seeing what they did to you, I can't stay silent. I've applied for asylum now. I'm ready to testify. Vanessa's eyes gleamed. This is the smoking gun. With this, we have an attempted murder case. But there was more. James Morrison, former CFO of Crawford Holdings, contacted us next. He had been fired the previous year after uncovering financial irregularities. He still had copies of internal records. Mrs. Crawford, he said at our secret meeting, Daniel laundered $4.5 million from the Crawford Foundation through offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Here are the wire transfer documents. And this, proof he sold the community kitchen model you created to Chen Group for $3 million. You never received a cent. Vanessa worked for 3 weeks compiling everything. Her investigation revealed even more. Daniel had 4 other mistresses during our marriage. The Crawford Foundation had lost $4 million in donations, unaccounted for. Judith had once been investigated for her first husband's suspicious death, Daniel's father, 20 years earlier, but no charges were filed. Daniel had hired private investigators to stalk me in South Bronx with instructions to find dirt, anything. By late July, NBC announced a 90-minute primetime documentary. From Ashes to Triumph, the Ella Thompson story. Friday night, 8 p.m., NBC aired the documentary. I watched from my restaurant with Grace, Sophie, Rosa, Carlos, and a group of regular customers. The room was silent, the air heavy with tension. Vanessa narrated my story from the beginning. The poor Vietnamese girl from Queens, the Columbia MBA graduate, the wife who built Daniel Crawford's empire. Footage rolled, photos of me and Daniel at our wedding, charity events, and business galas. Magazine headlines appeared. Crawford's secret weapon, the Vietnamese wife who transformed the business. Vanessa interviewed my parents. My mother cried on camera. Ella is a good daughter. She worked so hard, but the Crawford family never respected her. Then came the footage of the accident. The surveillance video from the Plaza Hotel showing the light crashing down, the explosion of fire, my screams. Medical reports filled the screen. Third-degree burns covering 35% of body, extensive facial disfigurement. Photos followed. My bandaged face, eyes full of pain. Vanessa's voiceover. While Ella lay in the hospital, her husband Daniel Crawford had already filed for divorce, notarized 2 weeks before the accident. Documents appeared on screen. Gasps rippled through the audience. Vanessa continued. When Ella was discharged, she was locked out of her home, her bank accounts frozen, and barred from seeing her children. With only $247 in her wallet, she ended up in a temporary housing unit in the South Bronx. The footage showed my tiny 8-square-meter room, the rusted bed frame, the peeling wallpaper, the flickering bulb, and my own video diary, tears streaming down my face. Millions watching across the country cried. Sophie appeared on screen, visibly 7 months pregnant. "My name is Sophie Martinez," she said, voice shaking but steady. "Daniel Crawford hired me to destroy Ella's restaurant. He promised to marry me if I succeeded. I believed him." Vanessa displayed Daniel's emails on screen. "Sophie, your mission: infiltrate faux Ella, find, or create, evidence of violations. Make the video viral. You'll get 5K and we'll marry after." Sophie wept. "But when I saw Ella's kindness, how she fed people, treated everyone like family, I couldn't do it. I refused, and Daniel abandoned me. He told me I was no longer useful. He used me just like he used her." Vanessa's narration cut in. When Sophie refused, Daniel didn't stop. He created a fake scandal himself. Clips flashed: the fake poisoning posts, troll attacks, Carlos's exposé, the police investigation. "Vanessa, we traced the source of those false claims back to Crawford Holdings." Vanessa spoke directly to the camera. But the darkest truth was yet to come. Rosa Gonzalez appeared, holding the USB drive. "I accidentally recorded a conversation between Mrs. Judith Crawford and the electrician 2 weeks before the fire," she said. The audio played in full. Judith's voice: "Make it look like an electrical malfunction, but make sure the light hits Ella. The more severe the burns, the better. Daniel needs a sympathetic reason for divorce." Mr. Stevens: "What if she dies?" Judith: "Even better, insurance payout, but preferably she lives, disfigured, hidden from public view." The entire country recoiled. Vanessa: "This was no accident. This was attempted murder." Then came James Morrison, the former CFO, presenting financial records. $4. 5 million laundered through the Cayman Islands. $3 million profit from selling Ella's community kitchen model to Chen Group. She received nothing. The tone shifted, from darkness to hope. Footage of faux Ella filled the screen. Long lines of customers, steaming bowls of soup, laughter. George, the toothless old man: "Miss Ella is an angel. I lived on the streets 5 years. She's fed me every day, no questions asked. If her food was poison, I'd be dead. But I'm alive, because she cared." The young woman with baby Elliot: "She saved me when I was 16 and pregnant. She didn't just feed me, she gave me a reason to live. Now I have a job, a home, and my son's healthy. All thanks to her." Carlos: "Ella doesn't just make faux, she serves hope." Then the footage of the community rally. 200 people holding signs reading #We Stand With Ella. Vanessa's closing interview: "Ella, after everything Daniel and Judith did to you, how do you feel?" I looked straight into the camera. "I'm no longer Mrs. Crawford. I'm Ella Thompson, and I feel free, because the truth is finally out. I lost everything: my home, my money, my children. But I found myself, and I found my true family, not by blood, but through compassion." Do you want Daniel and Judith to pay? I want justice, not just for me, for every woman used, silenced, or discarded by powerful men. For Sophie, for Rosa, for all of us. The screen faded to black with white text. 2 days after filming, the FBI and IRS opened investigations into Crawford Holdings and the Crawford Foundation. Daniel and Judith Crawford are awaiting formal charges. Credits rolled. The restaurant stayed silent as the documentary ended. Then everyone stood, clapping, crying, hugging me. "You did it, Ella! You're a hero! We love you!" My phone buzzed nonstop. Notifications flooded in. #JusticeForElla became the #1 trending tag in the US, and then worldwide. Social media exploded. Ella Thompson is a warrior. This is what real strength looks like. Daniel Crawford is a monster. A new GoFundMe appeared, not made by me, titled, Support Ella's Legal Battle Against Crawford. It raised $250,000 in 5 days, but the most important moment came 2 days later. The FBI and IRS raided Crawford Holdings. Daniel was arrested at his office, in front of all his employees. Daniel Crawford, you are under arrest for money laundering, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit assault, and obstruction of justice. Handcuffs clicked, cameras flashed. His perp walk photo appeared on every front page. New York Times headline: Billionaire developer arrested. Attempted murder plot against wife exposed. That same day, Judith Crawford was arrested at her mansion. Judith Crawford, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit assault with intent to cause great bodily harm and solicitation of attempted murder, she screamed, struggling against the officers. I'm Judith Crawford. I'm somebody. You can't do this to me. But they did. And I, sitting in my small restaurant surrounded by the people who loved me, watched the news and cried. Not from vengeance, but because, at last, justice had arrived. Lucas and Emma would one day know the truth. One day, they'd understand what their mother had fought for. But for now, I had to prepare for the trial ahead. 6 months after the arrests, the trial ended swiftly. The evidence was overwhelming. Judith Crawford, 16 years in federal prison, conspiracy to commit assault, solicitation of attempted murder, obstruction of justice. Daniel Crawford, 17 years in federal prison, money laundering, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit assault. When the verdict was read, Daniel glared at me. You destroyed everything. I stood, met his eyes for the last time. No, Daniel, you destroyed yourself. I just cooked soup and fed the hungry. The truth revealed itself. Civil settlement. $15.9 million, marital assets, compensation for 8 years of unpaid labor, and damages. Full ownership of the community kitchen intellectual property. Crawford Holdings ordered to issue a public apology and donate $3 million to domestic violence charities. Custody. Full custody granted to me, Ella Thompson. Daniel lost all parental rights. Judith was prohibited from any contact with minors. When the judge announced the decision, the courtroom blurred through my tears. Lucas and Emma ran into my arms, sobbing. Mom, we missed you. My babies. I'm so sorry I lost you for so long. It wasn't your fault, Mom. We're together again now. We clung to each other, crying. A family rebuilt from ashes. 1 year after escaping the slum in South Bronx. With the $15.9 million settlement and $250,000 from GoFundMe, I expanded. Faux Ella Enterprises. Year 1. 5 locations across NYC, South Bronx, Harlem, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan. Annual revenue, $3.8 million. 45,000 free meals per year. 80 employees. 75% single mothers, immigrants, or formerly homeless. Phoenix Foundation, founded with $2 million from the settlement. Programs culinary training for domestic violence survivors. Legal aid, scholarships, microloans. 500 people assisted in the first year. Lucas, 10, played piano at community events, dedicating each performance. For my mom, who taught me that beauty comes from surviving pain. Emma, 10, wrote an essay titled My Hero Mom, winning a statewide competition. My mom cried many times, but she always got back up. She kept cooking. That's what a true hero is. Sophie became assistant director of the Phoenix Foundation, teaching cooking classes. Her daughter, baby Ella, grew up surrounded by love. My parents wept when we reunited. I helped them open Faux Thompson, 2 locations in Queens. My father wiped his eyes. You make us proud, con guy. Not because of money, because you never gave up. I met Alex Morgan, a Japanese-American chef, 38, widowed. at the Food and Social Justice Conference. I read your story, he told me. What I admire most isn't how you defeated them, but how you turned pain into healing. We began working together and fell in love. Alex never looked at my scars with pity. You're beautiful, he said, because your face tells the story of 1,000 survivors. Lucas and Emma adored him. Mom, Uncle Alex is awesome. 4 years later, Daniel suffered a heart attack in prison. Before he died, he sent me a final letter. Ella, I won't ask for forgiveness. You won. Not because you destroyed me, but because you refused to be destroyed. I hope Lucas and Emma learn from you, not from me. I read it and felt no triumph, only a quiet sadness. Alex asked gently, Did you forgive him? Yes, I said, not because he deserves it, but because I deserve peace. Faux Ella Enterprises now had 15 locations along the East Coast. Annual revenue, $15 million, 350 employees, 280,000 free meals served each year. Phoenix Foundation, 18 community kitchens in 8 states, trained 1,500 women, helped 12,000 families out of poverty. The Ella Law passed in New York State, protecting abuse survivors and voiding prenuptial clauses based on physical defect. Time magazine listed me among the 100 most influential people. Lucas, 18, a Juilliard student, composed a symphony titled Phoenix Rising, dedicated to me. Emma, 18, a freshman at Harvard, founded Kids Against Bullying. I married Alex in a small ceremony at the First Community Kitchen. 50 guests. Lucas played piano. Emma read her poem. Instead of traditional vows, I said, Alex, you came when I was scarred, wounded, burdened by the past. You saw me as something precious, not broken. That is true love. He smiled. You're not a dish, Ella. You're the whole restaurant, full of warmth, love, and hope. I'm just honored to be your sous chef. One ordinary afternoon, 10 years after the fire, I, now 41, stood inside the South Bronx Community Kitchen, the same building that had once been a slum. Lucas and Emma were home from college. Mom, Emma said, I got accepted into the Phoenix Foundation internship, but I want to start from the bottom, washing dishes, serving meals, just like you did. No favoritism. Tears filled my eyes. You make me so proud. Lucas grinned. And I'm composing a new symphony about you. World premiere at Carnegie Hall next year. The phone rang. My assistant whispered, Mrs. Morgan, the White House called. The First Lady wants to invite you to the state dinner. I smiled. Tell them I'm honored, but I'd like to bring my community, George, Rosa, Sophie. They're part of this story. That evening, an elderly homeless man came in. I personally served him a steaming bowl of pho. It's free, sir. Please eat. He cried. Thank you. You're an angel. No, I said softly. We're all human. We all deserve to be fed and loved. Alex put an arm around me. You know what I'm most proud of? He said. Not the fame, not the money. It's that after 10 years, you still personally serve one free meal every day. Success never made you forget where you came from. I looked around the bustling kitchen. Laughter, the smell of broth, people eating, cooking, children playing. It wasn't a perfect empire. There were still bills, problems, challenges, but it was home. That night I posted on Twitter. 10 years ago, $247, a scarred face, no hope. Today, 280,000 meals a year for the hungry. The sweetest revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. Hashtag one bowl at a time. 5 million likes. But the number didn't matter. What mattered was the old man, eating his pho, feeling human again.